Giants got arguably the best player in the entire draft. Our Giants had a great draft, and Abdul Carter was an absolute monster at Penn State last year.
Our Giants.
Our.
That's a good question, but Abdul Carter was the 3rd overall pick, and you could argue he was the number 1 player in the entire class, right next to Travis Hunter as well. But not only that, the Giants didn't have to take their franchise quarterback at 3, and then they ended up trading a 2nd-round pick and 2 third-round picks to go up and trade Chris's boy, Jaxson Dart, at number 25. I think that was one of the best picks in the draft, one of the best trades you could have made if you're the Giants. You didn't give up a future first-round pick to go and get the guy that seems to be Brian Daboll's handpicked future quarterback. And then after that, you got value in almost every single round with Darius Alexander, Cam Scatterbo, who, by the way, definitely my favorite pick and going to quickly be a fan favorite in New York in general. I will be getting a Cam Scatterbo jersey. Nick's probably going to get a Cam Scatterbo jersey. I don't know. Tom, you going to get a Cam Scatterbo jersey too?
Yes, of course.
There we go. That's the new New York favorite right there. And then after that, just some dogs, some absolute dogs. Great offensive linemen that we were considering in the 4th round too. So, look, I'm happy. I'm more than happy. Is there bias in this? Absolutely. But the Giants killed it, got our future face of the franchise in Jaxson Dart, and it didn't cost too much. You can't really ask for much more than that.
So I think there's a problem in all this. I think Abdul Carter was the perfect pick. I thought that was great. The problem with taking Jaxson Dart in the 1st round is Brian Daboll is not going to be here to develop him. He will be fired by the end of the season. Joe Shane is going to be fired by the end of the season. They're not going to be here
Good man.
to supplement his development. They're not going to be here to develop Jaxson Dart. There will be no franchise quarterback in Jaxson Dart. The next regime that comes in will have their own guy in their own system. It's not going to be Dart.
See, but you're wrong. Because what this pick did was, at the bare minimum, buy this team buy this regime another year. Whether you like to admit that or not,
it's not true. It's not true at all.
It absolutely did.
It's not
John Mara said one thing coming into this offseason. He said, I want you guys to go get our future franchise quarterback. They did that. Why in the fuck would you fire your coach after you let this guy handpick your quarterback?
Handpick with the 20-something pick, bro. How often do quarterbacks after the 20th pick ever work out? I'll tell you, actually. In the last 15 years, only Jordan Love and Lamar Jackson. The rest have been Johnny Manziel. I don't have any more names.
Oh, got me.
But there's nobody else. That's it. It's only Jordan Love and it's only Lamar Jackson. Those are the only 2 quarterbacks in the last 15 years to be taken after pick 20 in the 1st round to work out.
I would like
they
for
don't
you
work
to look
out.
up right now how many have been taken at the back end of the 1st round, because I'm very curious about that.
Because after 20th pick in the 1st round.
After 20, yeah. Okay.
I actually watched this last night.
Overall, though, you just told me 2 guys that ended up working out. You just told me that.
But 2 in the last 15 years is not a good ratio, Matthew.
But there probably aren't that many. Okay, Paxton Lynch, there's that. I know that off the top of my head because he was a big-ass bust. But this is every quarterback ever. Jeez. I would like for you to pull that up for me.
Okay, I'll tell you. Kenny Pickett, Paxton Lynch, Teddy Bridgewater, Johnny Manziel.
Teddy Bridgewater had a productive NFL career and tore his ACL. Like, he was a playoff quarterback with the Minnesota Vikings. And
so you're happy if Jaxson Dart is Teddy Bridgewater. You're not happy. Okay, so Paxton Lynch, so good. Kenny Pickett,
never supposed
Kenny
to be a
Pickett,
superstar
so
in the NFL.
good.
They knew what they were getting with him.
Lamar Jackson.
Kenny Pickett never should have been a first-round pick. That never should have happened.
Okay, and Jaxson Dart, in any other draft, Jaxson Dart is not a first-round quarterback.
Jaxson Dart has first-round quarterback talent.
But he's not. In any other draft, you put him in last year's draft, obviously not a first-rounder. The year before that, not a first-rounder. The year before that, not a first-rounder.
What? What are you? Okay, hold on. Go back the last few years, please.
Okay.
Tell me why he's not a first-round pick at the end of the first round last year.
Because 5 quarterbacks got taken in the first round, and none of them would have been Jaxson Dart.
Picks. In the first fucking
And
12
none of
picks.
them would have been Jaxson Dart.
I didn't say he would be picked in the top 12. He wasn't picked in the top 12 in this draft. But quarterbacks inherently move up the board, and therefore at the back end of the first or the beginning of the second, if you have the arm talent and the athleticism of a Jaxson Dart, you're going to get drafted at the back end of the first or the early second. Exactly where he went.
But what I'm telling you is the actual chances of him being good are very slim.
But here's the best part about that. He doesn't have to play this season, which, by the way, aren't you the biggest guy that says quarterbacks should sit the first year?
I agree.
He's
I think
not going to touch the field. Ready? Okay.
I think they are giving him the best chance in doing that, yeah. But I don't think the current regime is going to be here to see the fruits of picking a Jaxson Dart.
They just did the best possible thing they could do this offseason. They had a perfect offseason in my eyes because they were able to balance the present and win enough games.
You were screaming and crying for the Giants to sign Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been cool with Aaron too, but it's okay that we got Russell Wilson, who's probably a much better professional to lead your future quarterback next season. Probably a much better professional, if we're being honest, to lead a future quarterback. Because he's not going to go in there and have this ego and be the guy.
Okay, I guess.
He's fully aware of what he was signed on to do. Jameis Winston, Jaxson Dart's dream teammate, is on this squad too. He's on this fucking squad too. So you got morale all the way up. You got a competitive team next year. I'm not saying we're going to go compete for the division or make the playoffs. I'm saying that we're not going to go into every single game and get fucking dog walked.
Well, that's the other thing.
Which is a positive for the regime.
So, unfortunately for the Giants, they're in a division with two other teams who will dog walk them 4 times a year.
That's just not true.
It is true.
The Eagles probably will. Don't think
the Commanders are significantly better than the Giants.
They are better than
don't
the
bring
Giants.
me into this.
They are better than the Giants. They are not significantly better than the Giants.
They are significantly better. They are significantly better, Matt.
They are not significantly better than us. They really are not.
Matt.
Yes, they are, bro. What are you talking about?
Jaden Daniels is arguably the lone position that they are better than us.
And that's all it takes,
The
honestly.
lone position.
Honestly, that's all it takes. Jaden Daniels is so much better than Russell Wilson that he makes that team just by himself.
Okay, but what's the difference in their defenses?
But it doesn't matter if the quarterback is someone. Your quarterback is Russell Wilson.
No, but it does matter.
It doesn't.
Does matter.
It doesn't.
Because this team is going to be able to win some games off the back of their defense. And that's the thing. We're not. And if we lose 4 times to those 2 teams, fine. Okay, that's okay. It doesn't matter that much. Because guess what? Next year isn't supposed to be the year. They're not getting fired. I don't think you understand that.
If they win 5 games, they're not getting fired.
No.
That's lunacy. That's lunacy.
They're not getting fired. You just let them do that. You let them pick their quarterback.
Matt, if they miss the playoffs again, they're not coming back for another year.
You're telling me
they're not coming back.
They
There's
won
no way.
3 games last year. If they go to 6 or 7 with this current squad, without your future quarterback playing a snap, and the defense looks great, and you know that you could pour assets into the offense.
Who's that?
He cheated on her.
If John Mara
They make the edits with her like announcing that he cheated, and then the future song. What's that one? With The Weeknd. What's that?
Low
future
Life.
song? Yeah, that one. That one.
It's honestly a tough edit. I'm not gonna lie.
if John Mara lets this regime come back after missing the playoffs again with this amazing defense you talk about.
What do you mean talk about? Look at the defense. It's an amazing
Okay,
defense.
so if they miss the playoffs with this amazing defense and they're unable to put together a competent offense with one of the best receivers in the league, they should get fired. 100%. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
They can put together a competent enough offense to go out there. I will put, honestly, right now, I'll put $50 on the fact that we win 6 or more games.
I'll make a playoff bet with you. They're not making the
Why
playoffs.
the fuck would I make a playoff bet?
Because they're not making the playoffs.
I just said they're not making the playoffs.
Okay, so what are you arguing with me about?
Bro, if you show improvement as a team with loads of cap space going into next
Look
season.
at the score.
He's
bro.
actually just a worse Zach Wilson.
Bro, what the fuck are you talking about?
He's a worse Zach Wilson.
That's my boy Cleveland Harris III, bro. Love that guy.
He's not a worse Zach.
I believe the wager.
actually
if you guys
is.
are going to make a wager, I believe it should be that the regime gets fired or not.
That is
I'll do that right now.
that is an
I'll
excellent.
put $100 on this
50.
right now.
50.
$100.
50.
That the regime does not
50,
get fired.
shake my hand.
We're professionals.
50,
Put
shake my
$100
hand.
on it.
$100.
50 and shake my hand.
No, but you're so confident
100.
that the regime's gonna get fired.
100.
50 and shake my
100.
hand.
You're so confident
100.
that this
100.
regime.
Shake-
There we go.
$100.
Put it on the motherfucking board right there.
You want to bet another bet?
What?
I bet that we split the series with Washington.
I agree with that.
So I was gonna say, I think between the 4 games against the Eagles and Commanders, they'll probably somehow win one.
We're gonna win a. We're gonna.
They're
win
gonna
the
go
whole
1
season.
and 3.
It could even be
Okay,
the
if you go 1 and 3, you lose to the Super Bowl champs twice. We're not expected to be there.
Exactly.
not
But that's the
understand about
point.
that?
But that's the point of where we're at, right? Because they have this great defense, and they're not a Super Bowl contender. So what do you do with that?
That's not the point of next season. You are missing the point. You need to be like Lethal Shooter and say, I understand it now.
But why would you sit here and let this regime keep on going after constant failure? Why would you do that?
Because the last 2 off seasons are not a failure. They have built towards something. They have built towards a future.
I think-
they have cap space.
I
They
think
made
giving
the
Daniel Jones that
move. They
contract-
made the Daniel Jones move and moved off of it. Good front offices move off their mistakes. They did that. Now they go and get their franchise guy.
This is not their franchise guy.
Bro.
Jaxson Dart is not their franchise guy. I'm sorry, Matt. Jaxson Dart's not going to save your franchise.
Okay, ready for this? Did it cost us the 2nd overall pick like your sorry ass franchise? No, it didn't. It costed us the 2nd and 2/3.
Okay.
To get a fucking quarterback.
But now you're getting emotional. That has nothing to do. The Jets have nothing to do with this.
But you're missing the fact that we didn't draft the guy with the 3rd overall pick either. So if the rest of the team is elite, you can still move off that guy and go get your franchise quarterback.
But that's exactly what I'm saying, right? This isn't a top 5 in the draft quarterback talent. He's not that, and he won't be that.
You mean to
He's
tell me-
not going to save your franchise
You mean to tell
because
me
he's
this
not
kid-
that guy.
You tell me that this kid can't turn into something at all.
No,
That's what you're saying.
that's what I'm saying.
I think that's just ridiculous.
Jaxson Dart's not the guy.
Agreed.
I think that's ridiculous.
Okay, we're gonna revisit this in years and be like, okay, yeah, I was kind of
I'm
being
not
silly
saying
for
that
making
he's
this
going to
take.
be some superstar, but I'm saying he's going to be a lot better next year when we have cap space.
I don't know. I feel like this is on. Sorry, I feel like this is you just hating on the Giants. I'm not gonna lie, because Jaxson Dart seems like the type of guy that you'd be all over given this situation. He has.
Thank you.
He has. Wait, let
He's
me go.
actually the guy, the opposite of the guy that I think.
No, wait. Let me go. He has aura 1. He has all those physical tools. He could throw it deep. He can make all the angle throws. He's rather athletic, I guess.
Very athletic.
He's a plus athlete, and he goes to a situation where he doesn't have to play right away and can sit behind a veteran, and that's your. I feel like that's your biggest thing is you want to see quarterback sit, and he goes to a
No,
situation where
I
where
think
they
that
allow-
could be a saving grace.
where they
there.
allow him to do that, and with the guy who, whether he's there or not past this year, like I don't know the answer if they keep Brian Dable or not, but he'll at least have a year with him, and that's the guy who developed Josh Allen into who he is. I'm not saying Jaxson Dart's going to be Josh Allen, but I feel like for Jaxson Dart, this was probably best case scenario to where maybe he can be a hit. I'm not saying he's a sure thing. I don't know. And we're not going to know until 2 years from now if he has it. But I feel like for the sake of his development, this was probably dream scenario, no?
Sure.
And
but,
for
but
the-
what I'm saying is, as a prospect, Jaxson Dart is all physical talent. He's not reading defenses like a top prospect. He's not making changes at the line like a top prospect. He's all physical talent, which is great. Look at that throw. That's a beautiful throw. He has arm talent, but so does every other NFL
but
quarterback.
here's the thing,
But
and I
you're
know
not-
Josh Allen is the like rare scenario, but like
And even he was taken in the top 10.
right, but we've said
Well,
my
he was
point is
6'6",
we've seen it before where a guy just like it's not impossible for a quarterback to just get better. You know what I
I
mean?
agree.
Like he has
So everything,
I agree. He has a lot of shit to dislike, Jaxson Dart. Like he's not
100% he does.
he's not he was never going to be a top 5 pick level prospect, but that's not what the Giants paid to get him.
Thank you.
They
but I'm-
paid 2 seconds. They paid 2 seconds and a third, and it's not like a second and 2/3. And it's not like we've never seen quarterbacks not drafted in the top 10 hit. And I'm not saying be, franchise guys, but I mean, the Giants had Daniel Jones, bro. Like, anything's better. So, I don't know. I think given what they gave up, like, you can't be mad at it. Whether you like or dislike Jaxson Dart as a prospect, because I get what you're saying. There is a lot to dislike. There's also a lot to like. And, again, with the ability that the Giants have to not throw him into the fire right away, I feel like that's something all of us have made very clear we like, and especially you. That's been your biggest thing.
That's why I got so aggravated, and that's what I said to you before. You, of all people, are all over the fact when a quarterback sits. So
I think every quarterback should sit. I think even Cam Ward should sit this year.
Exactly, though. The Giants are giving him the ability to do that.
And you just said he has all the physical tools, and you listed reasons as to why you shouldn't like him as a prospect.
Because I've seen this exact player before.
Okay.
I've seen this guy. Yeah, he reminds me bar for bar. He reminds me of Zach Wilson.
He started his first year.
I understand, but
He started, and there were
guys that are like
clear
this
issues. There were very clear issues with Zach Wilson his first season. Very clear issues.
They're the same issues, though.
Yes, I know that. But now you give this man
situation so much better than what the Jets had going?
Did you guys have a offensive coordinator at the time that you trusted and believed could develop a quarterback?
You do?
Yes.
You do?
We have a legitimate offensive line,
because
though.
no quarterbacks out of your system have come out over the last 7 years and been good.
Oh, my.
I mean,
what do you mean 7 years? Time out. He's been there for like 3 years. We won the playoffs our fucking first year. The Daniel
fluke. That was the biggest fluke I've ever seen in my life.
You could say that all you want, but that was the healthiest and best quarterback he had that he's ever had in this regime. And you're not going to let the guy go get a shot at picking his own guy? You're not going to give him that chance? And you could say all you want about his flaws as a prospect. There is a clear-cut thing that Brian Daboll saw that he said, okay, I think I can mold this kid. And if he feels that way and there are those flaws, you now give him the opportunity to sit behind two guys, quarterbacks, Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, that clearly have his best development in mind, which not many quarterbacks you could say that about. But these guys have done everything right to this point involving Jaxson Dart.
Well, at this point, they don't have a choice. It's either he develops or they are out of jobs.
But that's every fucking team
I just
ever,
feel like,
bro.
what else were the Giants supposed to do? They tried to trade up for Cam Ward. We all know that they made an attempt at that.
They offered a first next year.
They couldn't get that done, and they didn't give up much to be able to not only get the best or second best just overall player in the draft class. They were able to get the clear cut, whether you like him or not as a prospect, the clear cut QB2 in the draft class. Yeah. The clear cut.
Yep.
Clearly the NFL team.
You're right.
It doesn't matter what we say.
Yeah, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know Jaxson Dart was the clear cut QB2 in this class.
Yeah, but that's not really saying much in this QB class at all.
But it has to mean something.
But it doesn't, because you take this. We know this to be the worst QB class in the last 10 years.
No, not the last 10 years. 2022 was.
But
the
like,
worst,
what were
regardless.
the Giants supposed to do? Not take a chance on the kid?
No, I mean for what it is, I think yes, this is the only thing they could have done.
But this is a bad move because of that.
I agree with you that Jackson, not the Giants, but Jaxson Dart could get the short end of the stick. And the Giants, it's totally possible that the Giants are so bad this year that they get fired.
I don't think so.
It's possible. It has to be in the cards.
It is in the range of outcomes.
I agree with you, though.
You won 3 games. You can't even tell me that there's they're going to be a good team.
We are one of the most improved teams in the offseason.
Not distinguished gentlemen.
I know. So you
don't win anything for winning the offseason. You don't win a thing. I know this better than anybody,
games,
actually.
Bro.
I know this better than anybody. I've been a fan of the team that's had the best offseason for the last 3 years, and we have nothing to show for it.
You have missed the point.
But that's a bad way to analyze the sport, is to just say, like, oh, historically the Giants their offseason moves haven't worked out. We have to analyze the moves they made. And based on the moves they made, they clearly made improvements. We have to be able to give them credit for that. We can't just say,
no,
the
Giants,
Giants,
the fucking Giants, so we won't
you know
do
what I mean?
that.
We have to.
That's not true.
Because even when
you're seeming like one
when
right
the Jets
now.
made all those moves, all we did was give them credit, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I
so
was
we got to be able to give the
praiser
Giants.
of the Jets.
The difference is the Jets were bringing in an MVP quarterback.
I know,
the
but there
Giants brought in
wasn't
Russell Wilson and a 24th pick in the draft. It's not the same thing.
No, but you're missing.
It's not the same
Right, but
thing.
the
Come back to
expectations are
this.
different.
You're missing the fucking
The expectations
point.
are different.
The expectations
The
are not for us
expectations
to
for
go
the
walk
Jets
into
were
next-
Super Bowl.
Yep.
The expectations for us next season are not for us to go walk to the Super Bowl. That's not what's going to happen. What were your expectations after those moves were made? You were expected to go to the Super Bowl or at least make the playoffs and win some playoff games. Our expectations right now are win 7 games, show improvement, go fight in games.
You know, when you start a franchise in Madden and you could like select your goals? Like normally if you're trying to do unrealistic, you set that shit to win the Super Bowl. But if you're being real, you set that shit to 7 wins.
So how many years how many more years do you give Brian Daboll and Joe Shane? How many more?
That's it.
I think that they should have been canned regardless. Like last year. They should have got the can. But Matty J makes a great point that he never had a chance to bring in a quarterback. And in drafting Jaxson Dart and signing Russell Wilson, we all know Jaxson Dart is not going to see meaningful playtime until next year.
Not at all.
So I think the moves they made this year inherently made John Mara think like, all right, we could see this through for another year. Let him try out his quarterback. But it could all blow up and be so bad this year. And, you know, Abdul Carter could be a bust. Kayvon Thibodeau could keep being really bad. The secondary could be terrible. Paulson and Debo could bust and be terrible. Javon Holland could be terrible. The defense could be terrible and everything could blow up in their face and those guys still get fired. But the plan, which we've seen NFL teams like drift away from their plans. Kirk Cousins was supposed to take the Falcons to the playoffs and Michael Penix was never supposed to play. You know what I mean? Like shit happens. But the plan is see it through this year, potentially win 6-7 games, see improvement from the young guys, and then let's see what Jaxson Dart got next year. Right? But I agree with you that Jaxson Dart could get the short end of the stick. It could go so bad, those guys could get fired, and then the new regime next year, and it goes so bad that they get a pick where they could draft a top 10 quarterback next year, and the new guys say, we don't have any ties to Jaxson Dart. Let's bring in Arch Manning. You're our guy, the Manning bloodline. Jaxson Dart, a career backup. You know what I mean?
Cap space and an incredibly
I get what you're saying, but I don't think that the pick will inherently hurt the Giants.
No,
it won't. Like worst case happens, they fire this regime and then they bring in a new quarterback. They bring in a new regime and they try to see it through. It's the only thing they could do. It was the best thing that they could do.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
I don't understand.
That's quite a turn of opinion you had there.
It took an outside source, I guess.
When you're yelling and not articulating correctly.
No. Time out. The only reason I started yelling is because just immediately you came at the pick. Like it was the worst thing of all time.
I think it's a home run because I really like Jaxson Dart, the prospect. But
that's
I think
where we differ, right?
Right. I need
you to watch that.
As someone who doesn't...
I watched it.
Who doesn't love Jaxson Dart, the prospect, I feel like all you could do is look at this from the Giants and say, they did a solid job. Like, let's see if Jaxson Dart's the guy.
If you
know what I mean?
Like Jaxson Dart or not, he was the consensus QB2 in the draft. So, like, if you can just look at it objectively in that sense and say, well, it went up and got the QB2, whatever that means. If it ends up that he's not a franchise quarterback, then you still make the move because it was so bad.
You can't throw out the idea that the QB2 in this class is still not good.
What do you mean not good, though?
In comparison to other QB classes.
Okay, but we could look at Jaxson Dart in last year's draft class and say, okay, Bo Nix gets drafted over him, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix all get drafted over him.
That was the best draft class
we've ever seen. But what if Jaxson Dart develops better than J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, and Bo Nix?
I'm out on J.J. McCarthy, too, though, by the way. I'm not a McCarthy guy.
I love J.J. McCarthy.
Right, so it's not... And there were so many QB-needy teams in last year's draft. This year, it was the Titans at 1, the Giants, and then it was the back-end first-round teams. Like, last year, it was the whole, the top 15 picks, it was probably half of them needed quarterbacks. That's why the quarterbacks went all, top in the first 13
Bro,
picks.
if you don't recall, Michael Penix and Bo Nix were not even supposed to be early first, mid first.
It was crazy that they all went first round. And shout out Bo Nix for being that guy and like being a hit. But
and Michael Penix looked solid too.
Bo Nix was not supposed to be Bo Nix was shocking last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like to Jason he wasn't. There were Bo Nix believers out there, but to the consensus, what Bo Nix did last year was shocking.
But like even a guy like that though gets taken way higher
what
than
I'm
Jaxson
saying
Dart.
is like Jaxson Dart and Bo Nix as prospects are so comparable. You could lean Bo Nix, but it's not like Bo Nix is clearing Jaxson Dart as a prospect.
You could even say
not at all.
You could even say the same for Michael Penix.
Yeah, he's in that tier with
Bo
those
Nix
guys.
is truly an anomaly, stepping in to be a starter his first year and having success as the 5th quarterback taken or whatever.
But
it
what
was.
I'm saying is Jaxson Dart is completely in a tier with those guys.
You really put this on.
He's not though.
He
Jaxson
is.
Dart is
He
not
is.
in a tier with those
Yes,
guys.
he
But
is.
as a
bro.
prospect,
yes,
You're
he is.
forgetting to remove what they've done already in the NFL.
Right.
You need to just
As a college
look at this as a
prospect,
college
yeah.
prospect. And hold on. Bo Nix was a 24-year-old quarterback entering the draft that, yes, had a Heisman-level season with some of the best talent around him at Oregon. Michael Penix was also a 24-year-old that had multiple season-ending injuries and finally had a great season at Washington with 3 receivers that, no matter what you think about them, are currently in the NFL.
And an NFL coach.
Yes.
A guy who went to the NFL with him. You know
And
what I
there's
mean?
still better prospects.
And Kalen DeBoer, who went to Alabama.
If you want to say they're better, fine, but we can't act like Jaxson Dart's not in that tier with those guys. I'm sorry. There's enough to like about Jaxson Dart that you could say he's up there with them. Like, if I was ranking them right now, as prospects, my ranking would probably be Penix, Dart, Bo, JJ as prospects, because I really wasn't in on JJ as a prospect.
I might put Jackson over both of them, but
And I think you can make that tier with Jaxson Dart at the end of it, and that's
Yeah,
fine.
But would Bo?
I'm not
I
going to
still
argue
think
you on that.
I still think that both would have gone above him because I think they fit what the Falcons and the Broncos wanted. But
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just think that you're so biased with the Giants taking Jaxson Dart. You had no strong opinions about Jaxson Dart before 4 days ago.
100%. I actually was more in on Shador Sanders, and you could go
Okay,
watch the film.
so what are we even talking about here? You're going to bat. You're going
Well,
to
let's
ride or
be-
die for Jaxson Dart.
Let's be real here. Between the 4 of us, we've watched more draft film after the draft has happened than we
Right.
did leading up to the
Right.
draft.
That's not true. I watched a lot of Jaxson Dart. I wanted the Jets to take a shot on Dart in I thought he would fall to the 2nd or 3rd round.
The third is crazy.
2nd round, whatever, bro.
But here's my thing. Okay, so ready for this? I want you to look at what we traded for
JJ,
him.
Bo, and Penix were also 2nd or 3rd round graded quarterbacks.
Not JJ, but Bo and Penix
I
were
guess,
second
yeah.
round graded.
Yeah, but they got taken
yeah,
top
JJ was-
15.
Right, but what I'm saying is Jaxson Dart in last year's draft class probably would have been, if he was the last out of the bunch, then he would have been a top 17. Like, someone would have traded up to get him in that class last year. Or he would have went over a Bo or a Penix. Jaxson Dart is not some type of bum, bro. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. Again, there's shit to not like. There's shit to not like about every quarterback. And quarterback's the hardest position to evaluate. Across the board in the draft, first 5 picks, first 10 picks, end of the first round, 2nd round picks, 7th round picks. There's hits and there's busts. Quarterback's nearly impossible to evaluate. You could be completely right. Jaxson Dart could be a bum. But from what we've seen and what his tape shows, there's stuff to like. It's not crazy that he was a 1st round quarterback. Is he probably a 2nd, 3rd round graded player? Sure. But like Matty J says, quarterbacks inherently are just going to move up the board and come draft time.
Yeah. No,
Quarterbacks if you want to get your guy, you have to take them earlier than
get
their
a fucking 20th overall pick.
But
Absolutely not.
I hear you. And I think this is a top 3 landing spot for Jaxson Dart. Top 2, top 1. Could be the best.
It probably
Right?
is the best.
QB draw.
But the numbers tell you that the chances of him working out in the NFL are low. That is the reality. That is the fact. The numbers say that over and over and over again. They suggest to you that he is not going to work out in the NFL.
I totally understand that point. That's not what I'm getting out of this.
But that's exactly just what I'm saying.
But the fact that we didn't pay much and still left our roster open for flexibility, if we sucked and we ended up in the top 10 next year, you have loads of cap space because Daniel Jones' contract is almost essentially off the books now, and you're not paying anybody big time money.
I get it.
You have loads of cap space.
Most quarterbacks are busts. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yes, that's what
Right.
I'm saying. So right.
But
you
but
use
I'm
a 1st round
supposed to
pick.
look at that and think to myself, fuck, most quarterbacks are a bust.
But
so
it's,
therefore,
and it's not the 1st round pick that they had. They've still got a first, the
But it's not
best defensive
just
player
that.
in the class.
It's not. But the situation is
would you
different
have
from What I'm saying to you is the guys who have worked out in the same position, the Lamar and the Jordan Love. Jordan Love, unique situation with a set in stone coaching staff who's gonna be there behind Aaron Rodgers. Lamar Jackson with John Harbaugh.
Right, but the plan is here that
Jim
these guys are
Harbaugh.
going to stick
Yeah.
around. That's why you draft Jackson. That's
Yeah.
the plan. I agree with you that the plan could
You
blow up
draft
in their
your
face,
quarterback,
but
you give them a chance to at least see what he's
But
got
whether
on
you
the
took a
field.
quarterback or not, whether you had Aaron Rodgers or not, I think the regime's gone either way.
I just disagree.
Bro, but look at our draft. You're gonna think they're gonna nail the draft like that and
Nick,
get fired?
you tell me what you know about anything past the second round.
Jeez.
Cam Scatterboo.
Cam Scatterboo, yeah.
It was, bro, everybody had a solid draft. I mean, nobody really had a bad draft. Teams are good at drafting now. Like, it's kind of like, who had a bad draft?
Well, for
Everybody
now.
had.
Now you're just hating.
I'm
Now
not
you've turned
hating.
into hater mode.
I'm not hating.
He has turned into hater mode.
How many
now.
teams had a good
Okay,
draft?
Let me. Okay, ready? Let me
A
ask you
lot.
two questions. Hold on. Let me ask you two
I don't
questions.
think the Jets had a good draft.
Let me ask you two questions and we can move
I
on
don't.
from there.
We don't know. It could be bad. I don't know.
Okay,
Well,
but
then why are we?
let me
why are
ask
we
you
asking
two
then?
fucking questions, Dean. Number one, the things that you stated before that he has as a flaws as a prospect. He didn't make many changes at the line. He didn't have to read the full field, all that stuff, right? Now I ask you, him sitting, is that not exactly what sitting for a year would help?
I just told you that
Just answer my
this is
question.
a top landing spot for him because
Okay.
of that reason.
So-
I think that
okay,
every
there's my
quarterback
first
should do
question.
exactly what he's going to be doing.
There's my first question. Now, my second question. Would you have rather us had traded up from pick 3 to go get pick 1 and given up a future first-round pick to go get Cam Ward? And you leave that draft with not Abdul Carter and Jaxson Dart in the first 2 rounds. You leave that draft with Cam Ward and nobody else.
Yeah, because the hit rate on a top 5 quarterback is way higher than taking Jaxson Dart.
Where do you think Cam Ward goes in last year's draft?
Top 10? Still in the top 10?
Okay.
Okay,
10 picks.
I'll tell you right now, though, he is no higher than 4 in that class.
So I think
If that, because a lot of people had J.J. McCarthy super high because he was 21 and his peripherals were phenomenal as a prospect. But if you feel that type of way, if you feel strongly about the fact that Jaxson Dart really just isn't that guy, you're still forgetting the fact that we didn't spend a first-round pick. Essentially, the
no,
way you
that's
look at it,
wonderful. I'm so happy you didn't spend a first round pick. That's great for the Giants. I think that their offseason was pretty good. It was almost perfect. They did as much as they could.
Okay.
But I still don't believe in the regime. I don't believe in the prospect. That's it, point blank. That's what it is.
You are
The team is good on paper. Yeah, they had a great offseason. They had a great offseason last year. It's good. I don't believe in the quarterback situation. I don't believe in the regime. That's most of what makes up an NFL team.
yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
so when
and
you don't believe in those two things, it's tough for me to go to bat for the great defense that they have. It's tough for me to go to bat for the Malik Nabers that they have.
So-
when I don't believe in the quarterbacks, I don't believe in Joe Shane. I don't believe in Brian Daboll.
So if you had 2 great draft classes back to back and you just let your coach say that is the guy right there. I want you to go get him because I think I could turn him into something. You're not even going to let him touch the field with this current regime. You're going to say, nah, we're going to get rid of all you guys. Even though the plan succeeded, you are going to get rid
Nothing
of
has succeeded yet. Let's get that straight. Nothing has succeeded yet.
You went and
There's
got
been
your
no
quarterback.
succeeding.
You've had 2 great drafts back to last year. You can't even argue
There's-
that it was a great draft.
There's
'cause
been
every
no
single pick was
succeeding.
a hit.
We'll see. He's not going to touch the field this year. They might still be bad, and you're going to have another year of wondering if Joe Shane and Brian Daboll are going to get fired.
If the rest of the players in this draft class are good players, and you haven't seen Jaxson Dart play a snap on the field, say we win 5 games, you're firing them. You have a good young core, and your only problem is Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston weren't great. They weren't good enough for you to do anything, but the defense looked great.
I know your options were limited. It's just like you do have the great defense, and you're trotting out a less than mid Russell Wilson. That's the problem here. It's going to take a few years for Jaxson Dart to be good, right? You're going to what? Hold Dable for another 3 years until Jaxson Dart's a functioning quarterback in the NFL? Because that's how long it's going to take.
No, are you ready? Because here's what's going to happen. It is this 1 year, right? That is the developmental year for Jaxson Dart.
He's not going to be ready in a year. I'm telling you, he's not. He's a young quarterback, bro. He's not going to be ready in a year. Have you watched him play football? He could only do physical things. He's not going to be the leader of the New York Giants next year. It's not going to happen.
Okay. All right. Whatever you say, Dean. I guess I can't convince you.
If Jaxson Dart's going to be good, I think it's going to take at least 3 years, his third year, maybe fourth year.
I just think that's insane. He will be starting by his second year. And if he doesn't work out, then you are moving on from everybody. That is that simple.
Yeah, if they mess up the Dart pick, like, yeah, it's over for sure. But, like, you can't give them...
You are looking at it 2 years from right now and saying, oh, this is guaranteed to not work, so therefore this is horrible, this is a bad draft.
Have you heard what I've said? I said they had a perfect offseason.
You just shit relentlessly on the Jaxson Dart pick and basically said that was a bad pick because you...
Yeah, I mean, you can't say it was a great pick and then say Jaxson Dart's a bum and he's, you know, like...
Like, you can't say it's a great pick.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I don't think he's a bum. I think the chances of him not being a bum are pretty low.
So
if you had to bet, he'd be a bum.
Yeah, if I had to bet, yes, I'd bet on him not working out. Yeah. That's what most people would do, considering 80% of the quarterbacks taken at that range don't work out.
So here's my thing. Does that stop you from ever doing that?
No. Like I said, we're running in circles right now. It's a perfect offseason. I don't believe in the coach. I don't believe in the GM. I don't believe in the quarterback situation. That's it. That's what it is. Okay.
Sure. Disagree.
Could he save your franchise? Yeah. Jaxson Dart could go out in 2-3 years and bring you to the playoffs on year 8 Brian Daboll. But I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay. All right. Continue being a hater. I'm happy to see that. I can't wait for the first year of Jaxson Dart the following year when me and Dean make another big bet on them. It's going to be
I can't wait for him to throw 20 picks.
Okay.
Because
Jameis Winston really could be the best.
What is it going to be then, right? Because he's going to step in his first year, not going to be polished because it's his first year being an NFL quarterback. He's probably not going to be the greatest because he's still developing. And then what? You're going to give them another year?
Bro, if you mean to tell me that in a fucking year and a half, this man can't retain a playbook? When NFL quarterback...
I'm sure he can. Do you know how hard it is to be a successful quarterback in the NFL?
You're going to tell me right now...
Really hard.
But you're going to tell me right now that they're not going to throw everything at this kid in practices and stuff.
Do you think every NFL franchise doesn't do that with all of their rookie quarterbacks? Every rookie quarterback does that.
Quarterback doesn't get the opportunity to sit for the entire year and learn a playbook.
And even the ones that don't always work out. It's just like, it's not a guarantee.
The hit rate is much larger on a guy that you allow to sit. That is a fact. That is a fact. So therefore, we're going to allow this kid to sit. We're going to give him every opportunity to learn the playbook, to go against, in practice, the ones, because Dable already said it. His plan is, yes, he's not going to play a snap on the field, but they're going to mix him in against the ones because they want to make sure that his process in terms of how he is going to develop as a quarterback is expedited.
I just think with Dart, if Dart was taken with a new GM, new coach, I would believe in that scenario. I just think the regime it's a ticking time bomb. I think that's the problem. I think that is the literal problem. I think once they get fired, no one. That's it. That's it with Jaxson Dart.
What I want you to look at this as, though, is this regime is not getting fired because of the fact that they just drafted a quarterback.
But you
need to look at it. But you need to look at it in those lenses.
But they don't get a fresh 4.
But they're not getting a fresh 4. But they are guaranteed the next 2, which is all you can ask.
But what I'm telling you is, he's gonna sit this year. You probably won't be good again. Probably. I don't know. You probably won't be good again. And next year, a first-year starting quarterback is also probably not going to be that good. So how long do you really give them?
I don't know.
For them to retain their jobs, he needs to be good next year.
It's a 2-year regime. He doesn't need to be good next year.
for them to keep their jobs,
Next
he does.
year, you guys have to make the playoffs.
No, we do not.
Not this year coming up. The year
Oh,
following.
the year following?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Or at least he has to show a ton of
No,
flash.
you guys
Win, like-
got to make the playoffs in 2 years.
Not this season, but next season.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you can win
You guys-
9 or 10 games.
No, you guys got to make the playoffs, bro.
Or else they're getting fired. That's a fact.
Bro, if you win 9 or 10 games and miss the playoffs in Jaxson Dart's first year starting, I don't.
But
Yeah,
that's
but
what
how
I'm
many
saying.
times do you win 9 or 10 games and really miss the playoffs? If you win 9 or 10 games, you
this
probably
division,
make,
you might.
But how many? But like, how many years do you
I think
give
10
Brian
games is 10
Dable?
Yeah, I mean,
On year 8, you're really
Well,
like,
yeah, I
all
agree.
right,
10
try
games
again,
should probably
Brian.
make
You've
the
made the
playoffs.
playoffs
Yeah, right.
once.
yeah.
I just don't understand.
no, you have to make
Bro,
the
the
playoffs.
NFC's stacked.
No, I mean if he,
Tough.
I mean if he's 5 years into his coaching regime and made the playoffs once, like that's not gonna fly. Like,
I guess. I don't know.
And that's what I'm getting at this whole time. The chances of all of this working out is just pretty low, and I'm out on it.
I mean like Matty J said, like the chances of any quarterback working out in theory is also low.
yes, okay.
like-
The pick.
You know,
Even
All right,
top
I'll
picks
I'll
bust,
I'll,
bro.
I'll give to you.
Often.
I was wrong at first when I said it was a bad pick. It's not a bad pick. This is literally like, if they had any chance, it's this right here. This is their chance. This
The
is
only
their
other
way.
chance was trading up for Cam Ward.
right? Yeah,
And they tried to do that.
yeah.
This
Last
is,
You
year-
said you wanted
last
that.
year-
You said you were cool with that.
According
did it.
to
We tried.
According to all the
No,
sources,
I-
last year too, they tried to trade up.
We wanted
Like,
Drake May so bad.
I know, and this is the best thing they could do. I just.
It hasn't been from a lack of trying.
I understand. No. I'm not saying they're not trying. I'm sure they're trying. I'm pretty sure they're trying. But I think Dable and Shane are just running out of time.
100%. We
Yeah,
all
that's
know that.
100%
though.
true. Yeah.
And that's what it is. The chances of them succeeding are just low. It's just low, and I just don't believe in it. That's just
So
what
if
it
this
is.
was the move-
But what we're asking about is not 2 years from now. What we're asking about was right now, is this a good move or not? And you just said it is a good move. So therefore, the Giants had a good fucking draft.
All they
Okay.
have to do this year to keep their wait, yo.
Then that's it.
All they have to do this year to keep their jobs going into next year is be better than they were last year.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's it. They had a good draft.
All right.
Jeez.